When they announced the new pope, we celebrated. Bells rang. Pilgrims cheered. Then, the sky turned crimson, and the silence began. 15 minutes after the white smoke spiraled above the Sistine Chapel, the full moon rose over Rome like a blister and bled itself red. That was the moment that every camera crew pivoted away from St. Peter's Square and pointed at the sky, and the murmured chants turned into a terrified hush that rippled through the crowd. I was standing on the media riser with my press badge and my half-written headline when the colour shifted. First a copper smudge, then a deep arterial red so vivid it cast crimson reflections in every smartphone screen. One old nun next to me gasped, crossed herself and whispered, "Il sangue del mondo." The world's blood. For a second, no one remembered the cheer. No one remembered that minutes earlier, inside the conclave sealed by bronze doors, the cardinals had chosen their new Bishop of Rome, Cardinal Tomás di Caravaca, a quiet Spaniard known for devotional silence and Sunday visits to leprosy wards. A hush thicker than incense hung over the cobblestones, until the Vatican brass band struck a brassy chord, trying to wrangle the moment back to ceremony. But the moon refused to fade. It only darkened. I'm Jim Carver, Senior Vatican Correspondent for WorldScope Digital. I'd covered 3 conclaves, 1 papal funeral, and enough theological conferences to fill a seminary curriculum. Omens weren't in my wheelhouse. But as the velvet-draped balcony doors creaked open, and Caravaca stepped forward in white vestments, I felt my breath cinch. His eyes looked black. Maybe it was the floodlights, I told myself, or the red lunar glare. He raised his hand for the traditional blessing. The square fell silent, every tourist lens capturing history. "Fratres et sorores carissimi," he began. "Benedicat vos." Then he paused. His lips trembled. He turned, not to the crowd, but upward to the bleeding moon, and spoke a single Latin word not found in any blessing. "Adveniat." Let it come. A rumble crawled through the marble beneath my boots. The Egyptian obelisk in the square, 30 meters of sandstone, shivered, as though a subway train passed underneath. Statues atop Bernini's colonnades rattled out white dust. In the wild hush that followed, Pope Tomás looked directly at me across the ocean of people. A jolt shot down my spine as clearly as an electric prod. I had the distinct, irrational certainty that he knew my name. The Vatican's press office blamed the moon on unexpected atmospheric conditions. NASA's website crashed under traffic from doomsday sleuths. Within an hour, blood moon hashtags clogged every social platform. Conspiracy channels cross-stitched climate patterns with apocalyptic scripture. I forced myself to file a straight-laced article. New pontiff delivers brief blessing under rare lunar phenomenon. My editor added a clickbait subtitle referencing Revelations. I let him. Page views soared. Still, I couldn't shake the Pope's stare. I replayed the live stream frame by frame. In one freeze shot, his eyes did look black, not brown, not shadowed. Glassy like onyx. No reflection from floodlights, no iris. I sent the image to a graphics friend, asking if compression artifacts could cause such voids. He wrote back, "Not like this. Seems edited, but you shot it." 3 days later, I attended Pope Thomas's first public mass. St. Peter's Basilica thrummed with pilgrims. The red moon had waned, but desert dust still smeared European skies crimson at sunset, courtesy of a freak Saharan cyclone. Scientists waved their graphs. Parishioners clutched rosaries. During the Eucharist, when the new Pope elevated the host, every candle in the basilica extinguished at once. No draft, no visible motion. Darkness swallowed the nave until emergency LEDs flickered on. The organ bellowed a minor chord like a wounded animal. Afterward, Vatican electricians insisted faulty wiring. I heard an altar server mutter under his breath. There was something in his eyes. A week into his papacy, Pope Thomas announced an unscheduled audience with youth delegates from around the globe. I wheedled an invitation to the Sala Regia, expecting some pep talk about climate stewardship. He entered wearing the simple papal cassock. No ring of the fisherman. He was stripped, humble. The delegates applauded, but their clapping slowed as he approached. Again, that jarring sense of him looking through faces, mapping each skull. He spoke softly. "Children of this wounded earth, I come not to rule, but to prepare. A door once closed is opening. Your generation will walk first." A translator, confused, glanced at me and whispered she didn't recognize the dialect. It wasn't Spanish-accented Italian. It wasn't any Romance tongue. Suddenly, the youngest delegate, a Kenyan girl, convulsed and collapsed. 2 more teens fainted. Panic rippled. I rushed forward. Thomas raised his hand, palm outward. Everyone froze, including me, mid-step, though I strained against invisible bonds. He looked at the unconscious girl, and in that fragile hush, he smiled. A canopy of whispers slithered along the frescoed ceiling. Voices layered like overlapping tape loops, speaking languages I couldn't understand. When the paralysis ended, paramedics flooded in. Vatican security cancelled the rest of the event. I stumbled outside into choking heat. My throat coated with dust so metallic, it tasted like old pennies. That night, I met Father Paolo Barbieri, a Benedictine archivist who'd read my pieces and emailed. "Moon not first omen. Meet me. Urgent." We sat in an old restaurant. Back corner. Paolo's cowl smelled of parchment. He looked exhausted. "There are texts the Curia keeps hidden," he whispered, sliding a photocopied page across the table. Latin script, 15th century hand. An unpronounceable title, though I could make out the word lunaris. It prophesies a sanguine moon, coinciding with a silent conclave. A pope who speaks the summoning word, adveniat. 3 signs follow. Communal blindness, he tapped a notation. The extinguished lights, and worldwide rust in the sky. He gulped house wine. The 4th sign has not yet come. When it does, the gate opens. "What gate?" I asked. Paolo shuddered. "A gate beneath the Citadel Hill, under the Vatican itself. Not a metaphor, It seems to be a literal aperture to something else. He told a story. In 897 CE, Pope Formosus allegedly exorcised a cavern beneath St. Peter's crypt, sealing a rip in reality by binding a fallen cherub with relic nails. Legend claimed the cherub's blood was buried inside a lunar reliquary. A red moon meant the binding rusted and its blood boiled upward. The chosen pontiff would finalize the opening. You think Tomas wants that? He is the key, Paolo rasped. Or he wants the lock broken. I left him feeling dizzy. Thunder rolled above, though no storm brewed. At 4 a.m, my Vatican press phone rang. It was an unknown number. It said, "Final sign begins now. Necropolis." I recognized Paolo's voice. The necropolis. Ancient tombs beneath St. Peter's. Entry was unauthorized at night. If security caught me, my credentials would be shredded. Still, something pulled me there. I donned black clothes, a camera, a recorder, and slipped through side streets towards the basilica. Swiss guards patrolled piazza arcs. I shadowed a scaffolding to the Scavi entrance. Paolo waited, his eyes frantic. He produced an access card. Deep under marble floors, catacomb corridors breathed crypt cool air. Dust motes swam in flashlight cones. Latin inscriptions glimmered on sarcophagi. Paolo led me to a brick niche in the wall. Behind a gate, stairs spiraled further down into chambers off limits, even to archaeologists. We descended. The air thickened, smelling not of decay, but of hot iron. At the final landing, the stairwell wall gaped into a cavern unknown to any guidebook. Stalactites dripped a clear, viscous fluid. In the centre, a stone altar supported a silver orb, etched with lunar phases. It was cracked, weeping red liquid that steamed when it hit the floor. "The cherub's blood," Paolo said. "The rusted binding." Before I formed words, chanting drifted from the corridor behind us. Hooded figures in white cassocks filed in, their torches bleeding crimson flame. At their head, Pope Tomas, his eyes now visibly black, his irises eclipsed. He carried a bronze hammer. Paolo knelt, trembling. "The fourth sign," he whispered, "is the martyr's bell. They'll strike the orb, ring it like a chalice. The gate will open." Tomas's gaze shifted to us. He motioned. Guards seized Paolo with brutal efficiency. I pressed against the cavern wall. My camera was still rolling, and I was unseen. Tomas spoke, his voice layered with others, an echo chamber of pitch. "Adveniat." The chant echoed. He raised the hammer. Paolo cried, "Jim, stop recording. If the gate knows your name." The hammer crashed. The silver orb rang out a resonant gong like a submarine bell. Red light fountained upward, painting stalactites in gruesome blooms. The floor trembled. A seam split across the altar, spewing cylinders of blood-red dust that surged into a column. Inside writhed winged shapes, skeletal, featherless angels, screaming backward prayers. My camera glitched. I ran through shadows, while hooded clergy fell prostrate. I reached the stairwell. Behind me echoed a deafening heartbeat, Not mine, not human. The world's blood pumping into open air. At the basilica level, the light fixtures burst, marble cracked. Statues wept red stains. I fled into St. Peter's Square. The moon, no longer full, still glowed crimson despite waxing days. Its surface throbbed, leaking darker bands every second. Tourists screamed as the fountains boiled red. The Swiss guards knelt, clutching rosaries or vomiting. I crossed the bridge over the Tiber, sirens wailing behind me. Across the Rome rooftops, I watched lightning stitch crimson clouds into a spiral above the Vatican dome. The dome itself groaned, lead plates bending outward like petals. My phone went off again. I answered on reflex. A chorus of voices, including Paolo's, spoke. Adveniat. Then, a new voice, deep enough to vibrate air. Jim Carver, chosen witness. Come. The line died. For 3 nights, the moon stayed red. Ash fell over Europe. Rivers ran rust brown. Scientists blamed volcanic aerosols. Governments declared martial law. All Vatican broadcasts ceased, and there were no Pope sightings. I hid in a hostel, editing footage, balancing duty and dread. The camera's audio track, after the orb cracked, contained not static, but layered sentences. Languages stacked like chords. Software isolated a line in English. The witness must speak, or the gate widens. I realized the story itself was a ritual step, to spread the image, to feed the opening with human attention. If I aired it, I might doom us. If I stayed silent, the gate might still widen, but at least not by my hand. On the 4th dawn, the moon paled to bone white. The ash clouds dispersed. News anchors declared that the atmospheric anomaly had passed. Markets reopened. People wanted relief. But, at sunset, the Vatican dome collapsed inward, not outward, as though sucked underground. A plume of dust rose white, not red. Rescue crews found no bodies, only vestments dusted with silver sand. There was no sign of the Pope, nor Paolo. That night, I dreamt of Tomas standing on a starless plain, his eyes black, arm extended. Behind him loomed a titanic door, ajar, leaking red mist. He boomed. The world's blood is not in the sky, it is in belief. You will help me fill the chalice. I woke with blood on my palms, 3 drops, fresh. I'm recording this from a safe house in Malta. My editor demands the footage. Government agents, maybe Vatican, maybe not, are searching airports with my photograph. The moon will turn red again for the next eclipse. I can feel it in my pulse. 3 slow thuds that are not mine. Each time I close my eyes, I hear the martyr's bell ringing under Rome, and I feel countless wings brushing past me in the dark, waiting for the chant that only a witness can provide. I don't know if withholding the story locks the gate, or if my silence only delays it. I just know that Cardinal Tomas, Pope no more, key forever, looked into me that first night, because the ritual always required a herald standing among the laity. He chose me. And when the moon bleeds again, perhaps your eyes will dull to onyx too, and another witness will lift the pen. There's always a new pope, and there's always a red moon, and there is always someone awake to write the last words before the gate swings fully open. Adveniat.